was born to be free.
Hey everybody, it's Saturday the 25th of October. It's a lovely sunny but cool day, bit of a breeze. We've just had that storm coming through the channel, so I thought I'd come down, do some jobs on the boat, have a bit of a boat day and check the boat out, make sure she's alright after the storm, which she looks to be. I've just got here and the only thing I've done as usual is raised the ensign, which I like to do when I'm on board. So let's see what she looks like inside and get a load of unpacking done and get on with some jobs. She looks how I left it. Dehumidifier on. She's at 14 degrees C, 51% relative humidity, and so I leave this on during the winter, draining into the sink, plugged into AC. So I leave my AC panel on just with the outlets running, just to keep her dry and mold free. And yeah, she feels pretty good. But now I'm here, we'll actually open the hatches and let some fresh air in. She's not smelly, but it's nice to let some fresh air in, even though that will actually move the humidity higher, but it doesn't matter. I'll put this on again when I go. Let's turn that off. Both batteries on, battery charger on, and I'm actually going to put the water heater on as well, my lovely calorifiers, just for 20 minutes, so that when I need to wash my hands or something later, I've got some hot water. That certainly takes the current up. It's a 16 amp shore power connection, we're taking 5.1. So, first job of the day, let's do something outside. When I was doing that 3-day adventure in October, if you look at all the videos, I had problems getting in the headsail right at the end. I didn't really talk about it on the video, but you saw I had a lot of problems on that day with the headsail. It was wrapping around the furler and so on. So when I finally brought it in outside, where was that? I think I did that actually over near the forts at Portsmouth, and then brought down the main when I got to Chichester. When I brought the headsail in, the furling line got very, very tight at the end, and I looked at the front, and let me show you. I couldn't believe it. There was no line left wrapped around my furling drum. Can you see? It's just completely reached the end, and I have no idea how that happened, because I'm sure I put like 5 twists on that. I've only then wrapped the lines around kind of once. So, but I also know that a very weird thing happened while I was out, that's on video, where the headsail kind of got wrapped around the furler. So that's no good. So the first thing I've got to do is put 5 twists back on that, so that there's some spare, so that I've actually got enough line to furl the headsail. So we'll loosen off the headsail furling line back in the cockpit, and then we'll try and fix this. But I had no idea how I've lost 5 turns on the furling drum. That is weird. How's that physically possible? I don't know. Anyway, should be easy to fix if I work out how to get it the right way around. So I'll set you down, you can watch. did it, we did it. Because it is a little bit windy for doing that. Over here, blue skies. Up here, maybe some rain. And yeah, I thought that would be a 5-minute job. But nothing's a 5-minute job on a boat. So now I've got a couple of twists around the end, and also I tied off, and that means that it can't unfurl in a storm. And now with it adjusted, when the sail is fully deployed, I've still got plenty of line here. So these are my engine instruments. There's a tachometer with no engine hour meter on it. There's an oil pressure alarm, low oil pressure alarm, that doesn't do anything. Ignition key, alarm test, doesn't do anything. The instruments lights did work. I used them on my night sail, but they're very, very dim. And then down here there's a battery charge warning that doesn't work. There's a engine temperature light that's just always on, and I'll show you later, but I've already got a secondary temporary engine temperature meter that I've been trying out, which is why I know that that is not right. And then you put on this to stop the engine. But these panels are crazy expensive. They're hundreds of pounds if you want to buy a replacement. And I'm not sure I want to. This is an aging engine, so really I would like an oil pressure gauge, not just a low pressure alarm. I'd like an engine hours meter. That's quite normal on an engine, so I can keep an eye on how long it's been running as part of service intervals and things like that. I would like a fuel gauge rather than that pipe, so I can just give it a glance, satisfy myself I've got enough fuel, or determine, on very long passages, how much I'm getting through without having to open this and clear some space and look at that tube that's full of diesel. So I've got a few things I'd like to do. Also a bit more of a graduated engine temperature, such as the temporary one I fitted. So I would like to replace that. That's quite a big job, and I don't want to take the boat out of service while I'm doing it. So instead what I'm going to do, if I just move you slightly, instead, in my typical style, I've got this kind of cubby hole that I don't use very much, because I have now fitted these blue bags, one here and one on the other side, for things, bottles of water, snacks because I'm diabetic and things like that, gloves. So I don't really need this, and also I've fitted this down here for my winches. So I'm going to give this up for a while. This is also, I don't know if you can see, but the wood is quite rotten, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure this wood, and I'm going to get a panel made that's about the same size. I'm going to cover it in vinyl like I like doing on this boat, like my switch panel. And then look, I've got this space here where I can fit my gauges, at least temporarily, while I wire them up and make sure they work. And then when everything's working, I may then make a new panel to fit in here, because this panel will then be redundant. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. First step, measure this piece of wood. I'll leave it on, but we'll measure it so that I can then order some wood, and you can watch that project as I progress it. 37 centimetres. 37 centimetres by 22.5. 37. Measure twice, cut once. 37 by 22.5. So these are the steps, obviously, in front of the engine. They rattle quite a bit, and you get them off with 6 screws. And if I bring you closer, what you'll see is that over the years the screws are increasingly recessed into the wood. Look at that one, it's miles in. And that one as well, look at it, it's miles in. So you know, every time you do them up, you're compressing the wood or wearing it away. And this boat is quite old, and it's also not ideal because if I do want to get in the engine, I need a screwdriver. I'm meant to unscrew it, and if I'm out and about and have engine problems or something like that, it's not ideal. The bottom step is different, it comes off, but again it takes a while to get it off, but it's got 4 of these twisting screws and I've replaced the washers, so they're a little bit more, they don't go into the wood. So I want a completely different arrangement for this. I want something that isn't going to eat into the wood. I want something that I can just pop some catches and get it off really quickly. So I've devised a scheme. Let me just loosen these screws and then I'll show you. But you'll see what I mean about it. It takes a bit of time to get in here. And I'm hoping, I want something that will stop the rattles, because it's quite annoying. While we're here, I don't think I've showed you this before. I wanted an area where I could experiment with engine instrumentation. And so I ran a 12 volt with a 5 amp fuse from the battery. That means if I'm out at sea and I've got a water leak or I've got an engine problem, all I need is a battery alive. I don't need my DC switch, I don't need my switch panel, so that's why I went straight from the battery through a 5 amp fuse close to the battery to here. And this does a couple of things. It has a light, so LED strip lights, so again at dark I can just maintain the engine if I need to. I put in some test 12 volt sockets, so that if I'm trying to rig up an instrument and I'm experimenting, at least I've got some banana connectors, I think they're called, that I can use. And I've temporarily rigged up a temperature sensor. This is on the hot water coming out of the engine before it goes around the calorifier, before it goes out the boat. So this is effectively cooling water temperature, and I've rigged that up into this control panel with an alarm, and this gauge is just taped on for now, and that's one of the gauges that I want to put on my new engine instrument panel. So if I turn it on, then you can see my lights will come on, and you'll see this goes up to show that it's working, and then after a while it goes back, and then it would move to the actual engine temperature. But the engine's off, hasn't been run for weeks, obviously. It's cool. So that's how I want to keep an eye on my engine temperature in future. And it does include an alarm, which I think works when you turn it on. So let's just try that. Like that. That's the test. So that alarm will go when the engine goes over temperature, nice and loud. That's the plan. So I will leave all of this here, but I will move this sensor up to that temporary panel when I've got it. Let me just get some bits and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the steps. So the steps naturally kind of sit on this base plate. I have bought some wood which is just narrow enough to fit to the side of the steps on top of that side wood there, like that. So I just need to cut that to size and glue and screw that in. So with that either side, catches. And then I bought these catches which go in and you just press a button and they ping back. Can you see that? So my idea, I'm hoping I've got the camera in the right place. Let's just check. Yeah. So once I've got this strip wood on, I can then mount these here and create holes in the right place through the strip wood, and I can then push the metal, and then when I want to remove the steps, I've just got to press the red button, and I've got enough for 3 of these catches either side. I've also bought some rubbery, quite rubbery grommets that catch can fit into, so it won't be metal on wood rattling, to make it even better. That's the plan. And yes, there's more. I bought some 1mm self-adhesive rubber strip, strips like that, which I'm going to fit on the other side of, on another brace on the back of these steps, so that actually these steps are on rubber, held in by those attachments. I'll put another strip of this rubber on the bottom, and so it'll be put on, whack whack whack, in safe, no more rattling. Press 6 buttons to pop it off super quick. While I'm here, I've got a square drawn out on this bit of marine ply. I'll show you what that's for in a minute, but let's just cut that one out. And here's what that square was for. There was a main socket here. A previous owner must have fitted that, because there was also a TV, and I've removed that bracket. We don't want a TV on this boat. So I've got a plug. It's not going to be very pretty. It'll look better when it's epoxied in. Bit of wood filler, some of the staining paint that we're using on inside of the boat, and then I'm going to cover the whole thing with a picture, which I bought in, where did I get this? I got this in the US. I got this on Wildwood Boardwalk picture, which again I'll stain down the frame. We cannot direct the winds, but we can adjust the sails, and I thought that was a lovely boat that looked a bit like Sempagita. Right, mix up a little bit of epoxy for that plug in the bulkhead. So I'm only going to do a little bit in here, 5 to 1. Right, there's not enough YouTube channels with epoxy mixing already. Right, this is going to give an extra base for our steps in the kind of downwards direction, gravity direction. Glued and screwed. Okay. And then to finish it off, I've bought a couple of people. Well, my dad firstly has had an accident on these steps, and even my wife said they look a bit slippy, this wood. So I bought this non-slip grit stuff that's also got a fluorescent line in it, and so I will put that on the steps as well to finish the job, so that we've got better grip and we can see them more clearly at night. Okay, so here's underneath the steps. You can see that rubber trim has been nicely cut back close to the wood. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good. New trim wood blends in, doesn't really leap out as a new addition to me. So that's all looking pretty good. That's pretty good. Cunning plan. You can probably guess what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and get some Tipp-Ex down on the bolt, which won't be easy. There's always a lot of room. It doesn't matter if it goes on the bolt, because I can scrape it off when it's dry. But it's going to need a little bit of a steady hand. Shall we try that? Let's try it. By George, it's done it. 1, 2, 3.
Pretty sure thing, just go ahead, have it. Oh, there, mate.
So while those kind of rubber, what would you call them? Kind of bungs? Grommets, I suppose. While the rubber grommets are gluing for a couple of hours, I'm moving on to the next thing I want to do on the steps. At least this one no longer squeaks because I glued it last time, but I've now used this self-adhesive non-slip step material, which has also got a fluorescent stripe, so I'm hoping when I'm working on the boat at night I'll be able to see that. It's this stuff, anti-slip tape, indoor and outdoor, and it's really nice because it is self-adhesive. I thought I was going to have to glue it, but it's self-adhesive. Comes on a large roll, and I've just kind of put a little curve to make it slightly more visually appealing. Well, I think that's not bad. This stuff, we'll see how well it lasts, but it's only got a very, very gritty surface. I couldn't bring it right to the end of the step because the step had grooves in it, and I wanted to make sure there was enough material the other side of that back groove. So we'll see how it performs over time. But I think that looks okay, and I can lift this now and rest it while the glue dries. I just won't walk on it. And so that is now how the steps look. Much safer, much easier to get off, hopefully in seconds rather than minutes. No, I don't need to use screws. And after a bit of staining, I've put my picture up. It went over that blanking plate, which is where there was a 13 amp socket for a TV that the previous owner had. We cannot direct the winds, but we can adjust the sails. And a boat that looks very much like Sampaguita. I bought that in Wildwood, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore. On the boardwalk, I just passed this shop that had loads of sea stuff. And that caught my eye, and I think that looks quite nice there, complementing my instruments. Awesome.